Some teachers struggle.
Yep.
Like, and it's not just high school teachers. I've noticed that with elementary school teachers, they enjoy their job a little bit more, but they stress out a lot because having to work with kids. Kids are not exactly easy to maintain.
Right.
And then you get to high school, and it's just like trying to make sure that the kids pay attention, because high schoolers, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't.
Right.
Trying to make sure that a high school understands the curriculum is like trying to freaking remove the smell from a hunk of shit. You can't. It's impossible. So like it's really hard,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that I find is a fault in the education system. It's just what it is really is just throwing information at children. You don't try to make it any type of any type of fun. You don't throw anything that's actually useful. I found myself learning more from a class, and get this, the class that I ended up learning most from is a class that you only get if you're bad at math. So kids who failed at the algebra and geometry and stuff like that, if you failed at that curriculum, you get thrown into what they called what was it? Conventional math. I think it was conventional math, or yeah, something like that. But it was CC math. So they threw you into that class, and that class taught me how to do my taxes, how to stay on top of my bill, how to
What?
sign a check, how the difference between a loan and the difference between using a loan and like buying the actual with money. They taught us the value of a dollar. They taught us, like, I'm telling you, this class, conventional math, that I had because I was bad at algebra and bad at geometry. This class taught me how to live my normal life. They taught me how to tell between the good mileage on a car, the different how to purchase a house. Taught us how to purchase a house. We went through an entire freaking a leasing agreement.
And
We
you
went
got
through
this
all the
because
paperwork on that.
you were bad at the other stuff? Like you actually got, oh
Exactly.
my fucking god.
Exactly. I had that class because I couldn't live up to the expectations that they wanted me to on freaking y equals mx plus b. And I was like,
Oh
so you're
my
telling
god.
me,
Because
I was like, so
that's
you're
the thing,
telling
man.
me,
Like when I was in high school, like math was like it was easy for me to understand. Like it was a lot of pattern recognition for me. So I was just like, oh, like I'll pay attention, blah blah blah, do this and that. But one of the things that I've always said over the years is like, oh yeah, they don't tell you how to balance a checkbook. They don't tell you how to do your taxes. They don't tell you how to do all this stuff. I thought that was completely non-existent in the school system altogether. And now I'm hearing this life skill class was a punishment.
that's exactly what it was. And that was the biggest problem of it all.
Wow.
Because I got into the class and I was like, they were like, oh, this is the class for the stupid kids. I was like, I don't try. I'm not dumb. I know what I'm doing. I just don't care about it.
Yeah.
None of this is gonna help me with where I'm going in my future.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna worry about it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up in the class and she was like, uh, favorite teacher on the almost my second favorite teacher on this planet is Miss Ward, because she was a teacher for that class, and she was on it. She was a veteran for, I think, either it was either the Navy or the Air Force, one of those two, but she was on it. So she made sure that when she gave us a project or she talked about these things, she was like, if you don't pay attention, you're not going to get it in when you get into the future, because I'm pretty sure all this stuff we're going over right now, you're going to do it as soon as you get out of high school. So it's either you get it now or you're confused when you get there, and then you fuck up and you end up getting you buying a house, you paying off like this entire huge sum of cash that you can't pay for.
Wow. Wow.
So bless her heart, because she made sure that we understood what we were going through. Ryan,
Yeah.
we had a project. I kid you not, we had a project, right, where she literally made us go through all sorts of different banks to figuring out which bank gave us the best rates, the best type of account, what the bank would do for us when it came to benefits. And we even went over credit, debit, and freaking like FICA scores, and freaking like we went over everything, Ryan. Everything. I kid you not. I still have PowerPoints. I still have the PowerPoints for when my teacher went over all this different stuff.
Wow.
Her
Wow.
her best friend, I don't know if you know him. His name is Dave Ramsey.
Mm.
he's a very wealthy man. He does a lot of motivational speeches on the value of a dollar and how to make sure that you're money smart.
Okay.
She always gave us I want to say like weekly, bi-weekly assignments called Money Wise Teen. And so what it was literally going through giving us different scenarios that other people have gone through
Yeah.
and how to work out of that scenario and how to make sure that your life doesn't end up like that.
Yeah.
So and it was just like going through that
Wow.
and it was amazing.
Yep.
It was
That
amazing
that sounds pretty amazing, man. Like that.
because the worst part about it is that because it was a class for the kids that didn't care,
Yeah.
all that information for most of those students went nowhere because they didn't care. So most of those students didn't pay attention. But for those who didn't try but still cared, we got it. We figured it out. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I
Hell
know how to correctly. I know how to correctly budget myself. I know how to pay off in time. I know how to write a loan. I know how to sign for an apartment, Ryan, and I'm not even there yet. I know how to do that stuff, and I haven't done it yet. So
yeah. That's
that one class
beautiful.
alone.
God, that's beautiful. Wow. Yeah, imagine because yeah, I even think back to the housing crisis of 2008. It's like, if a generation of people that have been taught that class would have been taught that class, would the housing crisis have happened if they knew what they were
Nope.
going into? It's just like, yeah, all these banks are going to be doing the shady shit, but you can look at these banks and go, I see what you're doing. I see
Hmm.
what you're doing.
That's
Mm.
exactly what it was. That's
All
how I
right.
ended up finding out the bank that I'm up that I'm with. I'm with right now I'm with Chase.
Yeah.
It was either that or Citibank.
Yeah.
And so I chose between those two because I was mostly like raised around those two. Those are the two banks that my family uses. And
Yeah.
so I did my research on those banks and I was like, these are solid banks. They're solid banks. Um Freaking I ended up finding out through the project that Wells Fargo was freaking scamming their customers and using fake accounts to create better freaking and I was like, yo, what is going on here? I was like, what? I was
Yeah.
like, what is this? I was like, yo, you telling me like this is happening in the public and not many people know about it anyway. So if I didn't search it up, I would have never known.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
would have never known.
and the messed up part of how they handled that is all the mid-level management that was taking direction from the executives got
Hmm.
fired.
Exactly. So
Ah!
it wasn't the people that were making the decisions. It was the people who followed the lead from the people who were actually doing the evil deeds.
Yeah. Do we not
And
see
that's
a pattern here in the world at the moment? I don't know. We're just calling it out. We're just talking about. We're just talking here.
that's the it is what it is at this point. It's sad. It really is
Uh,
sad because if you make a certain amount of money,
mhm.
or if you can control a certain amount of territory or something like that, you're pretty much untouchable.
Yeah.
You can get away with pretty much murder
Yep.
once you hit a certain economical status. So it's like once you pass a certain amount of money or a certain amount of income that you're bringing in, you can literally slander a company, break it down, sell secrets, and even if you're found out, you could blame it on the lower man and they'll get punished for it. You're still sitting on top, making all the money that they would have had.
Yeah. It's legal mob shit.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's the worst part about it.
it is the worst part about it because people, again, like talking about, look, the reality is there's society and there's the, I guess, anti-society that where you're talking about, like, in this example it's just like, oh, the bad class got this information, but people will look at kids in that class like yourself and maybe look down on them because they're like, ooh, that's the bad class. Where you bring that out to today and you look at the systems that we're talking about right now, and people are like, oh, it's just business. But you talk about some mob shit and people are like, oh, they should be in jail. And you're like, it's
Hmm.
pretty, pretty, pretty fucking similar.